Agent Morris with the NSA.
We have identified some very, very interesting anomalous type of aircraft.
Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some anomalistic motion. Over.
Move very rapidly at any speed or whether any direction it wanted to go. Fly could change and go to the right or the left or go crossways without hesitating a bit.
What do you think it was?
Well, if they call it a flying saucer, that's what it is.
EWA 517, do you want to report a UFO? Over. Negative. We don't want to report.
Look, it wasn't my worst Wednesday night.
Good evening, everybody. This is Smiles Lewis, and welcome to another live edition of Anomaly Now from Austin, Texas. This is the weekly 30-minute news roundup show for the nonprofit 501c3 Anomaly Archives Scientific Anomaly Institute here in Austin, Texas. And I am Smiles Lewis, and my co-host is not here again tonight. We wish him well and hope he is doing all right, recovering from, I think, a cold or something. But we are in the midst of, just week after week of a STREAMATHON fundraiser in support of the nonprofit. And we are going strong, and we've had 2 great weekends with wonderful presenters. And we've got, 4 more Saturdays coming up between now and the end of the year to try to raise our funding goal of $20,000, our annual operating budget. And so we have turned this 30-minute show into a nice teaser promotional opportunity for that fundraiser, and we are so glad that you have chosen to spend your time with us or to play us on the replay in the archive at our YouTube channel or our Facebook page, etc. And so I'd like to go ahead and introduce our special guests tonight, who are some of our speakers for this upcoming Saturday, December 5th. One of our guests is Dr. Greg Little. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. And our other guest is Dr. Paul H. Smith, a former military remote viewer, good long-term friend of the Anomaly Archives and our sister organization, INACS, the Institute for Neuroscience and Consciousness Studies, who it's those folks who introduced me to you. And, we not too long ago posted one of your lectures that you did for the archives a few years ago, the remote viewing and UFOs, a great presentation that people can folks can see at our YouTube channel. And in the beginning of that, I was introducing you and commenting about how we'd known each other since I think I said 2002, and you're like, I'm pretty sure it was before that. And I've remembered since then and seen the wedding photos of our friend Bob Price at the good old Green Pastures restaurant in Austin, Texas, where I think that may have been the first place that we met, which was indeed well before that time. So,
well, you came over to my house there and interviewed me for, what was it, the Paranormal Times? Is that the publication?
And that was 2002, yeah.
Oh, was it?
Or thereabouts. It was in promotion of the International Remote Viewing Association's conference that was being held here that year. If memory serves, and it doesn't always serve. So, well, I'm so glad that y'all could join us, and it's nice that y'all can meet each other. And I wish it was in person, but you know how these things are now. Well, I did want to give a real quick update for folks. We, of course, are still in the midst of this fundraiser, and folks can go to our website, AnomalyArchives.org, and they can see all the information there about this operation that we're doing, this STREAMATHON fundraiser, which, as I say, is every Saturday between 2 weeks ago, November 21st, and December 26th, the last Saturday of this year. And we've almost reached $4,000. We've really managed to make some significant progress in the last week. Giving Tuesday was, of course, yesterday, and with the matching funds that we got through that fundraiser. We are just about to break 4,000, and we have an anonymous donor who has given us a challenge matching grant of up to 5,000. So we are almost there. And so when we hit 5,000, which I know will be very soon, we will actually be at 10,000, which is half of our goal. But that's the update on that, and I just really it's just been really warms my heart, just the support that folks have given in the form of donations, and of course the speakers in the form of the presentations, who they themselves, obviously we all need some support. So I always encourage folks to utilize their services, visit their websites, and if you can, purchase their books or donate to their causes as well. So I wanted to give each of you an opportunity to give our audience a little teaser about what you're going to be talking about. And Paul, I know you mentioned you had some place that you needed to go. So if you would like to go first, you have the floor, my friend.
Sure. First, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
So where are the archives today? When I was still there in Austin, it was over on Research. Where is it now?
So here's the thing. We moved into this awesome new location just about 3 years ago. When we had to move out of that location that we'd been at for about 10 years up there on Research Boulevard, not that far from Hal Puthoff's research facility. We had to find a new location, and I happened upon through a friend of a friend. Well, actually, one of our email newsletter subscribers told us about this wonderful location, and it's right downtown. If you, Paul, remember where the cylindrical Holiday Inn at I-35 is, right?
That's right downtown. Yeah,
we are right across the interstate there on the frontage road, the I-35 frontage road. So just on the east side of 35.
Heck of a commute.
Not for me. See, I live south, and so this has been great. And it's a great location with lots of great parking and great meeting facilities. But of course, we haven't been able to utilize any of that this year. I guess I might as well make this announcement. We did have some devastating news Monday, and that is that despite the impression that I had that we were going to be given the opportunity to renew the lease there, they're not going to let us. And there's a lot of backstory to this that has to do with just how hard hit nonprofits are, because our landlord are a pair of nonprofits, and they have seen devastation in the form of laying off nearly half of their staff. And despite that, they need more space in the building. And I assure folks, this is nothing personal, and this is nothing against the Anomaly Archives. They've had to make some very tough decisions, and they're being very, as far as I can tell, judicious about another tenant that's been in the building for 20 years, whose lease just happened to cycle up. And so added to the challenge of raising funds is the challenge of finding a new location. So we've already begun putting the word out to our dedicated volunteers so that I have multiple eyes around the city to help look for a new location. And those of you who are familiar with Austin know that it can be very challenging to find a inexpensive location. And one of the things that was so attractive about this location was that it was, again, we were paying our rent to a nonprofit and not just some commercial lesser. But that is not going to deter us. The board and myself, as the founder, are absolutely determined to continue to make this valuable collection available to the public however we can, and we will be keeping everybody abreast of that. So,
well, I certainly hope the next time I come visit you guys, I won't have to find you in a tent under I-35.
Well, I'd have lots of volunteers in the form of the homeless. Not to get to all. Austin, that's a real problem here. There's the homelessness, and I know it's not just Austin, but all across the country. But On that cheery note, yes, we're forging forward. But thank you for asking. I wish you had had the chance to see this location. There's actually a video that we played by some local podcasters that I gave a tour of the facility just before the lockdown, and it gave a real good sense of the space, and it's been wonderful. So, trying to just keep a stiff upper lip and all that. So, Paul, yes,
I'll talk. So first off, my lighting won't be as bad as this next time. I flipped the wrong switch, so here I am looking a little. I don't know. It gives me an eeriness, so maybe that's appropriate, right? So this Saturday, I'm talking this Saturday at I think it's 5 your time, right?
That is correct. 5 p.m. Central Standard Time.
I go on at 4. That's a little earlier than I had thought I was going on. That's great. That's even better. So my talk title is Religious, Mystical, and Out-of-Body Experiences. How science thinks it has explained them, and why science is wrong. So I'm going to talk about a thing called neurotheology, which is a science agenda to try and explain why people are so convinced that they have these things like out-of-body experiences, that they believe they've had mystical experiences that unite them with the universe. And of course, there's all this religious, spiritual experiences that people report over the millennia, literally. And science thinks it has made headway in discovering what actually causes these things. And they've got these ideas out there, which a lot of people who don't want to believe that these things are true are latching onto. And I'm going to talk about how they came to the conclusions they did, what those conclusions are, and why they're wrong. I'm going to rely on my 7 years as a military remote viewer and all the experiences I had there, plus another 30 years-ish. In the remote viewing world, along with what I learned at the University of Texas when I went there for my PhD. And I'm going to help you understand one of these fairly major agendas in the scientific world to try and dismiss and do away with people's belief in these kinds of things. So that's what we're going to talk about on Saturday, and hopefully have a little bit of time for a Q&A as well.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to that, and I think you are in a unique position to discuss that with us. Because of your experience with psychic remote viewing.
Right.
Well, thank you, Paul. Looking forward to that, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. And if you need to go, I understand.
My wife has dinner up there, and she's got a thing at 7, so we got to go up and take care of that. But now I'm kind of anxious to know what Greg's going to talk about.
Well, you check it out.
I'll hang on just until I hear the topic, right, and then I'll have to leave. Okay.
I will. Should I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, first of all, sorry about having to move. That's terrible. The Edgar Cayce organization, when they had to move their archives, their library they had to move from one building to another, a building on a hill down to one that's closer to the ocean. And they actually had a group of volunteers that made a chain all the way from one building to the other, and they handed one book at a time. I don't recall how many books they actually had in the library. For some reason, 40,000 sticks in my mind, but shoot, there's over 1,000 volumes just on the Cayce readings alone. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about Edgar Cayce. I'm just telling you have my sympathy in moving. The moving part, even when you find a space, the moving part of all that stuff is going to be a lot of work. And I saw your film. I was very impressed with the film of the archives that you and that local group made. That was quite impressive. It made me want to come there and spend some time in your archives, which I may very well do whenever this mess is over. But anyway, what I plan on talking about is not Edgar Cayce, which is one of the things I'm known for, or anything about the organization, the Cayce organization, but mound builders. I'm going to talk about mysteries of Native American mounds, a little bit about Jim Brandon, who wrote a book in 1983 that was pretty, not just impressive, but it was very influential, called The Rebirth of Pan. And I will tie in a bit about UFOs and mounds. Very, very little, just what some people believe. Some about the mythology of Native American mounds, some of the myths associated with mystical beings being associated with the mounds. I'll go through a bit of the history of the mounds, the beginning of them, which actually most people don't know this. Mounds in the Americas are about 5,000 years older than the first mounds in Egypt, which mounds in Egypt predated pyramids. The Americas had mounds far, far earlier. South America has mounds dated to 8,400 BC, so that's a long time. So I'll show some pictures of that. I'm doing it in a slide presentation, and that's kind of it. I'll talk about some of the astronomical alignments that have been made with mounds, the Path of Souls concept, which is the Native American death journey, which is now mainstream in archaeology, but it wasn't until just recent years. And some of their belief system. Probably not a lot on the beliefs, and that's a lot to pack in an hour, and that's basically what I plan on doing. And if we have time for a question or two after it, that's what I'll do. So that's kind of a summary, or maybe that's my talk. I can be good with that.
Well, I'm very much interested in that, and as one of the biggest, we actually have quite a bit of the Anomaly Archives collection, which was brought to us as part of the Gerard collection, the Bob Gerard, the Arcturus.
Oh, yeah. I knew Bob very well. Great guy. He's the guy that helped me sell my first books in UFOs. I mean, he was the man back then. And there's actually a great film with him in it called Goodbye Space Brothers.
Oh, he's in that?
Farewell. It's Farewell Space Brothers. And they go down into his basement where he had his entire collection, and he goes through the books with him. It's very impressive. It may still be on YouTube, although they keep taking it down because of copyright violations. I
definitely need to see that again and
yes, he's in it.
Obtain a copy. I totally had forgotten that. So, he was an amazing individual, and he was one of those that came. So much information passed before him, as a bookseller. So.
Yeah, and Bob would. You're right. What you said in your little film, you're right. If Bob didn't like a book, he'd say, this thing is absolute garbage. I've never seen such drivel. No one should read it, but I'm selling it. If you want a copy of this piece of crap, send me $8.95 or $9.95 and a bit of shipping. And he was good. And he sold it. He would sell them like crazy.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's Farewell Space Brothers, not Goodbye. It's Farewell Farewell Good Brother. Farewell Good Brother. Can't think.
It's a really classic documentary, and I'm really. Gerard has an interesting legacy, and we do hope to expound more on it, and kind of. We're planning on scanning all of his old Arcturus zines, because those little reviews he would write were just legendary and very spot on a lot of the time.
There's another little thing I want to say about that film, Farewell Space Brothers. I showed all of the contactees that were in that film and their interviews in it to Jacques Vallée. We were alone. We were at the Casey organization in the auditorium, so I showed it on a big screen, just he and I, and showed it to him. He had never seen any of it before, and he kind of sat there open-mouthed and just went, oh, my God. He was amazed. He'd just never seen any of it. I won't go into their response other than that, but there's a lot of stories. Brent Raines was also at that conference, and I know Brent talked a bit about some of his interactions with Vallée there. So sorry, I just butted in there to.
No, that's quite all right. No, that's so much of what we traffic in are these stories, and what needs to be preserved. There's so much experience amongst this community, and obviously you can't preserve every conversation, but with the technology that we have now, it's a lot easier to do oral histories, and that's why I think podcasts have become so prevalent, and the oral history approach to preservation is such a big thing now. So
Yeah.
it's near and dear to the heart of the Anomaly Archives. So, I'm looking forward to that. Like I say, we've got a lot of books on the Mound culture, including your amazing volume on that, which is just a great resource that's got great entries. And you were posting a lot of those on your Facebook account for a while there.
The pictures out of it, some of the illustrations. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll show some of those on the presentation on Saturday.
Great.
Yeah,
great.
and I've had a lot more done. I actually contracted for all those with a mainstream archaeological reconstruction artist who they generally don't do work for alternative writers. However, if you offer them enough money, they will. That's kind of the bottom line to archaeology. It's such a poorly paid field, and even the artists don't get paid much. So I paid very well to for a lot of good work. They did excellent work for me.
It's a good book. It's a great book. I think we've got a little bit more time. So some of the other presenters that we've got lined up coming up this Saturday are. We're going to open open the day's events at 1:15 with local Don Webb talking about the Egyptian concept of the soul. Those who are familiar with Don will know that he actually was the head of the Temple of Set for a long time and is very well known for his writings on the esoteric and the occult and these various, I guess they're typically called left-hand path magical orders, but he's a very sweet and wonderful guy, and he also writes a lot of horror fiction. So looking forward to hearing from him. He, like you, Dr. Little, was one of the original people lined up for the 2001 National UFO Conference that was going to be here in Austin. And so I'm glad to get him on. And then after your presentation on the mystery of American Mounds and Earthworks at 3:15, we've got my good friend Joshua Cutchin, who is really doing amazing work. If folks aren't familiar with his recent spat of books, I highly recommend them. A Trojan Feast, Brimstone Deceit. He's featured in books on Bigfoot, I think that are titled like The Wood Knocks, and his new Bigfoot book that's co-written with Tim Renner is fantastic, but it's called Where the Footprints End. But this new one is his new, well, this is actually not his newest book, but it's a great lecture about the convergence of the Changeling motif in old fairy lore and the modern alien abduction phenomenon. So it's called Stock and Trade Expressions of the Changeling Motif in Alien Hybrid Lore. And then, as you heard from Paul H. Smith earlier, 5 p.m., religious, mystical, and out-of-body experiences, how science thinks it has explained them, and why science is wrong. And Paul is no basher of science. He just has, experience with these things and has his perspective based in some logic and reasoning. And after that, we're going to have a special screening of a really interesting little short called Remote Viewing Memories by director Garret Harkawik, who will be coming back the following weekend after that. And then we'll be taking a break, and I'll come back and introduce our 7:10 p.m. Speaker Joseph Green, who is a parapolitical researcher and is a board member of the nonprofit Hidden History Center, which is the archive of parapolitical researcher John Judge, who is somebody I really respected and had a lot of interest in his areas of research. He was, of course, the organizer of the COPA, Coalition on Political Assassination Conference, that was so long running in Dallas for so many years. Joseph Green, Why the State Hates Conspiracy. And then rounding out the evening will be our Fortean Film Fest portion of the day, where at 8 p.m. we'll be introducing the creators of The Hill and the Hole, a fantastic, fun, weird, dark, spooky fiction based on a short story that's created by director Bill Darmon and his co-creator Chris Ernst, and special guest, crackpot historian and longtime good kook friend of mine, Adam Gorightly. Adam Gorightly was actually the very first presenter for the Anomaly Archives back in, I think, 2004, just a year after we'd come into creation. And so that'll be very interesting, exciting. And you can find all the other details about the other upcoming Saturday Streamathons. We still got, like I say, 4 more to go. So you can find details at AnomalyArchives.org, and you can all help us reach our goal and preserve ufological paranormal history through the Anomaly Archives.
That was a lot.
Yeah. And normally on the show we talk about what's latest in the news of the paranormal and ufological community. This often involves us showing folks the latest news over at our Flipboard page. If you're not familiar, if you go to AnomalyArchives.org, over on the right hand side you'll see the news feed where we have it pulls in the RSS, the XML news feed from this website, flipboard.com, where we bookmark all of the news articles every week that we come across that we think you might be interested in or that interest us. And there is so much. Of course, the thing that's been occupying my time is this monolith mystery that is obviously a worldwide group of artists that may or may not have any connection to each other, who are playing with this idea of putting a very iconic image, iconic art installation at locations around the world. The first one being found in Utah, apparently 5 years after it had been put there, and then suddenly mysteriously disappearing after it got so much press. It must be shy.
No, they've actually filmed the guys that took it. There's photos of the guys that took it online, came online. I believe this morning is where it came out. And the guys were talked to while they were taking it, and they said they considered it junk and they wanted it out, almost like trash. So they tore it apart. There was a filmmaker that was there filming it with a friend, and they were a little afraid of him. So they surreptitiously took photos of them using cell phones. So they got pictures of the 3 guys that took it apart. They broke it up and they put it in a wheelbarrow and carted it off.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, I have not seen anything about that yet, but in this day and age with
it's so fast.
These computers in our pockets, and the information racing around the planet.
And the one in Romania has already disappeared too. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So very fun, interesting developments. And anyway, you folks can go over to our Flipboard and check out more there. And we hope you'll do that.
Great stuff.
Well, thank you so much, Greg. I think I'm going to go ahead and close out for the evening. It's been a long day. I still got so much time ahead. In this
yeah, you do. Well, I appreciate it very much. I look forward to Saturday afternoon, and we'll do it then. I'm all right. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And you have a great evening. All right, folks, that's Dr. Greg Little, and you can find out more about him. You can go to Anomaly Archives, and down in the listings for the Streamathon, you can find his links to his websites and his books and his other web presence. He is also a frequent contributor to Brent Rain's Alternate Perceptions. Well, I think I'm going to just play something really brief here. I don't know how brief it is. We'll see. I'm going to play this bit from good friend Ken Adams, and we'll call it a night. So thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you Saturday. We could use your help. Good night.